This is a gray-haired mare that I'm shoeing to do some rides this year. She hasn't done any rides yet. She's young, but she's in training, and mostly she gets a pretty straightforward shoeing. I take angles and balance and breakover I think out what's going to be the best way to shoe her to give her that good balance, that breakover, and the proper angle according to her conformation. Conformation is just conformity. It's, does the horse's body fit together? Length of cannon bone versus length of forearm, angle of shoulder, length of back, length of hip, angle to the hocks, angle of the stifle, length of neck. This mare actually is pretty good. She's a nicely conformed horse. So from a farrier's perspective, it's pretty straightforward work. She stands straight, she moves straight, she doesn't have any what we call deviations in flight, where she paddles or she wings, where they come in like this. She moves pretty straightforward. So the whole idea, the way I look at horseshoeing is, and especially shoeing endurance horses, is this is a sound horse. And so my goal is to keep this horse sound. And so under heavy use, because she's going to be doing long distance riding over rough terrain. And so I take all of that in account. Now if I was shoeing her, someday I hope I will be shoeing her for a ride like Tevis, then we'll start considering protection from the rocks. We'll start considering other factors that particular trail throws at a horse. Mostly it's hoof protection. And so, but right now she's just getting straight steel shoes with breakover. And every horse I shoe, I put breakover on them. And breakover, what that means is and I'll show you when we film it, a beveled toe, something to ease that breakover and quicken the breakover. Instead of at the tip of the toe, I'm going to bring that breakover back maybe about an inch to just ease her. It takes stress off the limbs, the tendons, and the ligaments. So some of the things I'm looking at with this particular foot, and this is for all shoeing, but the thing about shoeing endurance horses is there's not a lot of room for mistake. They're just used so regularly, and they're being asked of so much that what can go wrong will go wrong. So evaluating this hoof, this mare is what we call high-low. She has one foot that wants to be a little higher than the other. Something that's pretty typical of Arabs. I'd say about 1 out of 3 to 1 degree or another, they're what we call high-low. And that's where one foot wants to grow more heel than the other foot. And this mare is, I wouldn't say extreme at all, but she does have some slight high-low. This is what we would consider her low heel. I've got it pretty built up and healthy looking, but it's a little wider, and it's and the other foot is a little more narrower and wants to grow a little bit more heel. So on this foot, I'm going to definitely want to back that toe up to help kind of disperse the weight further back on the limb, and And so that's when I look at this type of horse, that's what my goal is to back that toe up. I don't discount a horse with high-low because they're pretty prevalent. The only thing that I look at is the low heel will always have a bigger shoulder, and you can see it from here. So if you look at this side where it's on the high heel, it's going to be a little, the shoulder's going to have a smoother muscle along that side. This side's always going to have a little larger heel. So when I look at these horses and look at them as potential endurance horses, the only thing I can say is you're going to have to get your saddle to fit correctly, because, and I say this to clients all the time, I'll ask them, do you feel like one stirrup's shorter than the other? And what happens is this larger shoulder pushes the saddle this direction, and you're always pushing, on this horse's case, on the, on your left stirrup, because you're trying to stay centered with the horse. And then what happens is if you're riding off balance, now the horse is what we call true two-track, and they start to move. Instead of moving in a straight line, they start to move, and it's, in the direction that you're trying to push down on that, on your stirrup. And it's no different than if you've got somebody on your back and you're giving them a piggyback ride and they lean one direction, you're going to go that direction in order to stay centered. So it's really important to just get a good saddle fit that doesn't block the shoulder, because that shoulder is going to push you that direction. And so as far as managing a high-low horse, they're very manageable with proper shoeing, proper trimming, however, whatever kind of hoof protection you decide to put on your horse, it's very manageable. That's the part that is the challenge, which isn't too bad if you have a good saddle or you have a good saddle fitter. It helps you with that issue. In horseshoeing, there's always the question between bring this out a little bit, between what we call perimeter fit and setting the shoe back. And perimeter fit means fitting the shoe to the tip of the toe all the way around the hoof. Setting the shoe back means set the shoe back and just let the toe overhang. I believe there's a happy medium there. I back the toe up before I put the shoe on, and then I, if I need to, I might set that shoe back a little bit more, but I don't get too crazy on it like I've seen other farriers do. And that's their prerogative. And if they're having success with it, I think that's great. Probably the most important tool I have in my toolbox comes from Harbor Freight, and it's calipers. I measure toe lengths on every foot, and I want my toe lengths to be exact. So I use my calipers, and I like my hind toes to be the same length or a little bit shorter than the front toes. So these 2 feet are prepped, ready for shoeing. So kind of my standard shoe that I use on a daily basis is a Con. I use a lot of clipped shoes, especially this time of year, just because we're dealing with mud. And now that the pastures are drying out a little bit, the mud is thicker. And so want to just make sure that the hoof is stabilized. Plus, winters are really tough on horses. Horses aren't indigenous to anything wet. They come from the desert, and their feet are supposed to be rock hard. And when they're in beautiful green irrigated pastures, which we love, it's not. I'll start the brake over, but then I'll finish it up with the grinder. quick adjustment, hopefully. All right, so there's my breakover, and I think we're pretty close to a good fit. Something I learned was you take as many trips as the anvil to the anvil to make your shapes as it takes. You know, if it takes 2 trips, that's great. If it takes 10 trips, whatever it takes to get the fit that you're satisfied with. You know, and there's been times where I've gone back and forth to that anvil lots of times to just feel and just make sure I have the right expansion and the right fit. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right. So nailing, one thing I like about this particular shoe is there's 6 nail holes on each side. So it gives you like options. And on some of these horses that we're shoeing, depending on how fast they wear their hind shoes out, it could be every 4 to 5 weeks. We need lots of options for nail holes, you know, if you're nailing. I like the options with this particular brand of shoe. So the nails are beveled to come out. So the way I kind of set that nail up where it's going straight down the line of the hoof, and if I give it just a little extra pop, I can send it right out through the hoof wall. A good hind shoeing, in particular for endurance horses, is a squared toe, and partially because it gives them that ease of breakover, but also when you think about an endurance horse over 40 miles into a ride, on 160 miles, 70 miles into a ride, they get tired and they start to what we call forge if they're not shod correctly. And so the square toe helps with alleviate the forging issue along with breakover in the front. It just helps ease their movement. And so I square toes on the rears, give them breakover on the fronts. That's just a good standard way of shoeing with steel. So I'm going to go ahead and build some square toes for for this little mare. Okay. So I'm going to just show you what I carry in my rig. This is a small selection of what the options are out there for endurance horses as far as hoof protection. We'll start off with, and I'm just going to, this is the Easy Care Versa nail-on. Easy Care has come out with a lot of new product and has hit the endurance market pretty extensively. From the nail-on options to the glue-on. This is the Versa glue. And then I don't have the Octos, but for those of you that know about the Easy Care product, there's the Octo, which is glued on with super glue. This one is glued on. I use Farrier Choice to glue it on Flex Grip, but there's other product out there for gluing these on. Easy Care's come up with some great product, and advantage, concussion absorption, support. With this particular shoe, you don't have to nail, which in some cases is great. So these are just two of the Easy Care products mainly that I carry. The next shoe that's a polyurethane shoe is the Equithotic, known as the Sneaker. This is a shoe that I use on my own personal horses, mostly for endurance, and I put them on quite a few horses for endurance. I've had a lot of luck. I've gotten a lot of horses through Tevis because of this shoe. Protection, concussion absorption. The difference between the Sneaker and the Easy Care shoe is this is bonded to a piece of tempered aluminum, and so it has that rigidity where this shoe has give. And there's advantages, you know, to the give. It lets the foot expand and contract, but this is like the ultimate protection. I'll even go as far on particular rides like Tevis to fill this hole in with some kind of a filler to keep any rocks and protect the foot even more. I personally haven't had a lot of problem with rocks getting stuck in there, but it can happen. All right, steel shoes. We talked about kind of my standard shoe with front shoe, which is a Con shoe. It's just a good steel shoe, 8 millimeters thick. Then we go into the Natural Balance and the Center Fit shoes. They're a squared off shoe with breakover. And these shoes, I'll use them on horses that I really want to set that toe back and get control of the toe. These are shoes that are used in endurance quite a bit. A lot of farriers love them. I think that they're a good shoe to have in your rig when you feel like you need them. I'm going to talk about hind shoes for a moment. This is the hind shoe I usually use. It's an SX8 Care Cart, and this is a St. Croix Eventer. Now, I don't necessarily use anything with traction on endurance horses because I think that foot needs to hit and slide. And I think that when they have too much traction and the hoof sticks to the ground a little bit more, it's just more wear and tear on the horse's tendons and ligaments. So I tend to go with just a flat shoe on the rears. Pads. Typical neoprene pad. This is a Castle pad. This would be like, we need to pad the horse to go to a ride that's going to have rocks, and I have the horse in steel. This is a Castle pad with frog support, and if I'm trying to achieve some kind of support for the heels, I'll go to this particular pad with the frog support, and then I pack it, and I'll talk about packing in a moment. This is a impact pad, the green impact pad. This one is a 2-degree wedge pad. It's got a little bit of a lift at the heel. That way I can get a little more angle on the horse's hoof, especially when I'm dealing with low angled heels. There's controversy about wedge pads, I know, but a lot of times I'm shoeing horses, I may not get that heel that where I want it, but the horse is still competing. And if I need to have that angle the way I need it, then I'm going to go to a wedge pad. This is another pad. This is the plexus pad. It's open in the toe. It's got frog support, and then it's got the holes in it, which I will pack with what they call, it's a dental impression material, DIM, and I'll pack that to kind of support the frog, to help disperse the weight off the heels. So DIM is one way to fill a pad, to pack a pad, but I'm not always trusting this particular material because it doesn't always set up the way you think it's going to, and sometimes it's too hard and it puts too much pressure on the soles. So I'm a little careful with using DIM. The next way to pack a pad is with a seal pack. It's just a two-part silicone. This is soft, and this is a good way to pack a pad. But still, there's some horses that just can't handle that sole pressure. And when they can't, then I just go back to the old-fashioned oakum. And I'll fill this in with a little bit of pine tar, and we'll just not have any pressure between the pad and the sole. This is the gun for the seal pack and for the flex grip that we glue the glue-ons with. But this is pretty much my simple products that I use to keep these endurance horses sound.